All right, question period today in Ottawa. The Prime Minister under sustained fire and criticism from the Conservatives, the New Democrats, and the Bloc Québécois over when Canadians will start getting vaccines. It seems we will be behind the Americans, the British, and the Germans. The Trudeau government still not able to provide any concrete timeline beyond to say vaccines will be coming in the months ahead. No doubt frustrating, though, for some, as we will see people in other countries, key allies like Germany and the UK and the US, getting vaccinated perhaps in the weeks ahead. CTV's Michel Boyer is back with us in Ottawa with more on why it is so complicated, Michel, to be able to say when the vaccines will arrive in Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating, I think, for a lot of Canadians, especially when you hear politicians and officials south of the border saying, oh, yeah, it's coming in a couple of weeks, stand by. And we can't hear the same thing here in this country. One, let's, temper all of our energy because nothing has been approved yet. It's on the path to that. But what I'm also hearing is that their delivery schedules with these manufacturers, let's talk about, Pfizer, for example, that being like one that we've heard a lot about. Canada will get the vaccine, but because the United States has invested so heavily in Pfizer, for example, they invested early as well for these vaccines, so they're at the front of the line. That is just one example. It is true that Canada does have a very, very large amount of doses per capita compared to other countries. But let's all remember that not all of those manufacturers are actually, or perhaps not all of those manufacturers are going to get approved as well. But you can really sense the anxiety is rising here just about the question mark around timing. Again, what they're saying is early 2021.
Yeah, good point. Let me ask you as well about, you heard the Prime Minister there sort of counterattacking Michelle Rempel of the Conservatives and saying, hold on, there were manufacturers who closed down under Stephen Harper and the Conservative governments at the time, a number of different companies, and that has left Canada with a very limited, almost non-existent, really, vaccine production capacity. And, anybody who thinks that in 6 months or even a year, you can all of a sudden, restart and spend billions and suddenly you've got that production capacity, that's just not realistic. It's impossible.
No, it is impossible. And a lot of the technology that is being used to create these vaccines is very, very new. So you can't just snap your finger and expect a production facility to open. And, I'll remember, I think it was in 2012, I was living in Montreal. A great friend of mine, he was a scientist for GSK, for GlaxoSmithKline, and they moved him down to Washington. They moved Canadian talent out of the country because there was no more production that was happening here in this country. So that is something very real that did happen, and that counterattack is valid. You could argue any which way that the company was deciding to go and moved. That was, 8 years ago now. I think moving forward, what's important is let's just get these vaccines across the border into Canada. What I'm also hearing, though, is you'll remember in the spring, I'm sorry, it's all a bit of a blur. In the spring, when it came to PPE and 3M, the United States put a halt on exporting any PPE to Canada. They wanted the PPE for themselves. I'm hearing that will not be happening this time. It is built into the contracts, Todd.
Interesting. One final thing, just your read on why we're not getting some kind of an actual date, like, I don't know, January 30th, February 1st, February 15th. People, just human psychology is such that people like to have that kind of thing. It gives them a sense that this is coming to an end, even if it's frontline workers, those most vulnerable. We understand people in long-term care homes, they will start getting vaccinated on X date. It seems like the government doesn't want to give that date yet.
I think they don't know. I think they don't know when, and they're very careful about those kinds of dates. They're very careful about pressuring Health Canada, public servants, scientists working for the federal government, separate from politicians. I know a few who work in this building where I live, Todd. They also don't want, if something goes wrong, if there's a hiccup, that's handing the opposition ammunition.
CTV's Michel Boyer joining us from Ottawa. Thanks for this. Appreciate it.